Welcome to the Rue de Coq d'Or, a very narrow Parisian street full of tall, leprous houses lurching towards one another as though frozen in the act of collapse. It's a fairly rackety place, full of shouts, fights, loud singing and the sour reek of refuse carts.
Monsieur Blair?
Yes, Eric Blair.
Madame Falaise, manager of the Three Sparrows. You looking for a room?
I am, for 6 months if possible.
We don't rent rooms to anyone under 21, I'm afraid.
I'm 25 actually. Here's my passport.
Oh, you fool me. All right, this way. Our deluxe rooms are 200 francs per month. We take payment in advance on the first of the... Oh, that woman! She thinks she owns this hotel. Would you excuse me for a moment? Cow!
Same to you!
As I said, payment is on the first of each month. I trust that is acceptable.
That'll be fine, thank you.
And I think we're in accord, Monsieur Eric.
Whoa, no, not again! You're disgusting!
The Rue de Coq d'Or was a place for those who had given up trying to be normal or decent. And just as money freed people from work, so poverty had freed these individuals from ordinary standards of behaviour. And that's why I want to write about poverty, to show you how it affects people's lives. I'll start by giving you some idea of what life is like in this filthy quarter. Confessions of a Dishwasher. Ugh. I don't think so. A rough time. Ugh, no, that won't do.
Down and Out in Paris and London.
Not bad.
By George Orwell.
That's me, formerly known as Eric Arthur Blair.
Adapted for BBC Radio by P.G. Morgan.
Who's he?
Part 1, Paris, March 1928.
There we are. Now, let's get back to that hotel in Paris, where everyone, including the French, speaks impeccable English.
Same to you!
We have all sorts here, Monsieur Blair. Students, bricklayers, stonemasons, prostitutes. What's your profession?
I'm a teacher and a writer.
A poor young English writer in Paris. I've never heard of such a thing.
Good evening.
Ah, Monsieur Reginald. Meet one of your fellow countrymen. Mr. Blair's from London.
I'm from Putney, damn you! Or is it Ponte Delgada? Yes, that's the ticket. Ponte Delgada. Cheapest wine in the northern hemisphere. Oh, bless my soul.
Monsieur Reginald drinks 4 litres a day and 6 on Saturdays. Perhaps you two will become friends. But first... Here is your room.
It's a little small, madame. And what on earth is that stink? Did the maid forget to clean in here this morning?
We do not have a maid, monsieur. It's too expensive.
And so is this room.
Look, there are plenty of other people out there who need a place to stay. Do you want this room or not?
Yes, I suppose so.
Ah, your neighbours, Monsieur Rougier and his wife.
Were they unwell?
If drink is a sickness, then they're very unwell.
So I'm sleeping next to a pair of smelly alcoholics. This gets better and better.
The Rougiers have not taken their clothes off in 4 years. They'd be millionaires by now if only they could stay sober.
Millionaires?
They sell pornographic postcards on the Boulevard Saint-Michel.
There can't be much money in that.
You'd be surprised. As are their customers when they unwrap their sealed packets and find castles of the Loire. They're usually too embarrassed to ask for their money back. Well, when you've unpacked, you must join us in the bistro downstairs. You and Reginald can get drunk for less than a shilling. You are old enough to drink, aren't you?
Madame Falaise was right. You could get drunk in the Hotel Bistro for £1 a night, which I did every night for several weeks. I wish one could find a pub in London a quarter as cheery or as friendly. Oh, my God. My God. Look, can you just hold on a minute? I need to deal with something.
He took my wedding ring!
And my wooden leg!
One at a time, please!
Madame, all my money has gone.
I'm afraid it was that young Italian in room 13. A man with side whiskers is never to be trusted. How much did you lose, my dear?
200 francs. It was my rent money for the next month.
Oh, dear.
But I have money from my teaching job.
So what are you complaining about? Now, which of you imbeciles is next?
Me, I think.
I did not dare tell Madame Falaise the truth. My teaching job, giving English lessons, brought in at best 36 francs a week. Add this to the 47 francs I had in my pocket, and I was going to have to live on 6 francs a day. It's curious. Your first contact with poverty. It is the thing you have feared all your life, the thing you knew would happen sooner or later, and then, by a piece of bad luck, it's here. Everything is suddenly extremely precarious. Take this half litre of milk. It cost 80 centimes. I must make it last. If I can just keep these wretched bugs out of the... Oh, damn. That's the end of that meal. There are 100 such disasters every day. I've stopped sending clothes to the laundry. The tobacconist keeps asking why I've cut down on my smoking. I've also discovered the boredom which is inseparable from poverty. I have nothing to do, and being underfed, am interested in nothing but food. Everywhere you go in Paris, there is food insulting you in huge, wasteful piles. Baskets of hot loaves, great yellow blocks of butter, mountains of potatoes and strings of sausages. A man who lives on bread and margarine for a week is a man no longer. He is simply a belly with a few accessory organs. And yet, there's a feeling of relief, almost of pleasure, at being genuinely down and out. I have talked so often of going to the dogs, and well, here are the dogs. I have reached them, and I can stand it. But still, I must make some adjustments.
Next. Oi, you with a Charlie Chaplin moustache. Come on. So, what treasures have we here?
2 suits, a waistcoat, a wool jacket, a pair of black brogues, and a leather suitcase.
And how much do you think these objets are worth, monsieur?
300 francs.
You realise this is a pawn shop and not a charity? 70 francs.
70?
Take it or leave it. Next.
Look, that's fine. Really, 70 francs it is.
Good. Come in after lunch next time. We're all in a much better mood then.
I'll remember that. Thank you.
Next.
I tell Madame Falaise that I made 200 francs from the clothes. Poverty is already tangling me in a net of lies. And then my English lessons cease abruptly. One pupil is too lazy to continue, the other vanishes, owing me 12 francs. It is now absolutely necessary that I find work, and I know exactly whom to turn to for help. Boris is a Russian aristocrat whose parents were killed in the revolution. We first met in hospital while Boris was being treated for arthritis and I for pneumonia. Boris is a curious fellow. A former captain in the 2nd Siberian Rifles, he always talks about the war as the happiest time of his life. Like many Parisian waiters, his ambition is to set up his own restaurant. The last time I saw Boris, he was earning 100 francs a day in tips at the Hotel Scribe. It's a great relief to know that I have an influential friend to fall back on. Boris? 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 Wake up. It's Eric.
Oh, my back. I think it's broken.
My dear Boris, what's happened to you?
Oh, Eric, you have come at a bad moment, my friend. Boris is not only ill, but starving to death. For the past 2 weeks, I have lived on 2 francs a day, sharing this pitiful attic floor with Jewish mechanic. And to make matters worse, my leg is playing up. The ups and downs of life.
What about the job?
The hotel script does not employ invalids, but I am sure there are plenty of hotels that do. Eric, hand me that shoe, will you? I'm going to smash a few of these damn bugs.
Never mind the bugs. Where's all the money gone?
Oh, very good question.
You were making 100 francs a day in tips. You haven't spent it all, have you?
Well, I'm afraid so. I pawned all my possessions, apart from my medals and regimental photos. The mechanic pays me 2 francs a day in lieu of the debt he owes me, but that's it.
Boris's chest is spotted with insect bites and he now walks with a stick. I go downstairs to buy a loaf of bread. Food acts on his system as rapidly as a cocktail.
So, what brings you here?
Well, I was hoping you'd help me find a job.
Then you have come to the right place. A friend of mine is opening a new Russian restaurant on the Rue du Commerce. I will be the maître d', and you can work in the kitchen.
Well, what's the pay?
500 francs a month, plus food.
That's wonderful.
You could even become a waiter. After all, you are tall, and you speak English.
That's very kind of you, Boris, but you know I have to concentrate on my writing.
Writing is bosh. There's only one way to make money in publishing, and that is to marry a publisher's daughter.
And you think the restaurant world is any different?
Well, waiting is a gamble. You may die poor, you may make your fortune in a year. So, what do you think?
Well, I'm interested. But what shall we do for money before the restaurant opens? I have to pay my rent.
Oh, we shall find something. In life, as in bug fighting, remember Marshal Foch's maxim. Attack! Attack! Yeah! Attack! Don't worry, my friend. We shall not starve. Nothing is easier to get than money. Onwards!
And so we head to a small cafe off the elegant Rue de Rivoli, which doubles as an employment bureau for hotel workers. I see you're keen to make a good impression.
Oh, of course. My best suit and yesterday's Le Monde for the soles of my shoes. And now, the final touch.
A bottle of ink? What on earth's that for?
Oh, Eric, when a man's socks are full of holes, he needs to be a little creative. I ink the skin where it shows through my socks, you see. And voila! They are just like new.
So what do we do now?
We sit and we wait. There is an etiquette to these things. Each time a restaurant owner comes in looking for staff, bonjour, hello, he talks with the barman. Look, the barman picks someone and off they go. We won't be here long, you mark my words.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm starving.
No, Eric, no, not so fast. That coffee has to last 2 hours. It's the barman's commission.
You said we wouldn't be here long.
Well, it's true, but one never knows in this game. The only way to guarantee a job is to slip the barman 20 francs. And as we cannot afford that, we must wait. Hello.
And so we wait.
Hey, Ruland.
And wait.
Maubert.
And wait.
Savonneur.
At the end of our allotted 2 hours, we are still waiting.
No matter. Tomorrow we shall find something, my friend. Our luck is about to change.
You're sure of that?
We both have brains, do we not?
Yes, but...
A man with brains cannot starve. Brains will make money out of anything.
Boris has vast capacities for hope. As we walk home, he entertains me with stories of how we shall live as waiters together in Nice or Biarritz with smart rooms and enough money to set up mistresses. Boris's leg and back keep him in constant pain. His vast Russian appetite also gives him torments of hunger, although he never seems to grow any thinner. At last we get to my hotel. Boris is too tired to walk the 3 kilometres back to his room, so he sleeps the night on my floor with his coat rolled around his shoes as a pillow. We will resume our search in the morning. Day after day, Boris and I drift through Paris looking for work. One day we cross the Seine 11 times. At every restaurant and hotel, it's the same story.
Hold my stick.
Yeah?
Ah, good day, sir. We are inquiring about the possibility of employment in your fine establishment.
Have you worked in a kitchen before?
Oh, I am waiter by training, and my friend here is dishwasher of many years standing.
We need 2 men in the cellars. You'll do. Come in.
Oh, splendid. One moment, please.
Hold on. You didn't say you had a limp. Sorry.
A former captain in the Russian army at the mercy of such Philistines.
Don't fret, Boris. There are plenty of other jobs. Look at this advertisement. Circus hands required. Job requirements, cleaning up litter and moving benches. Must also be willing to let lion jump through legs during circus performance.
Auditions today at 5 p.m. Well, what are we waiting for?
For once, we are on time. An hour early, in fact. And yet we find a queue of 50 men already waiting. There is some attraction in lions, apparently.
Merde.
And so it goes on, day after day of listless boredom. When we are not looking for work, Boris and I study the bugs crawling across my bedroom ceiling and the rats scuttling across the floor. Sometimes we play chess. We make a board from the side of a packing case. Our pieces are fashioned from buttons and Belgian coins. Like many Russians, Boris has a passion for the game. He believes that the rules of chess are the same as the rules of love and war. He also says that if you have a chessboard, you do not mind being hungry, which is certainly not true in my case. Meanwhile, my money is oozing away. 60 francs soon becomes 8 francs, 4 francs, and then 1 franc. For several days, Boris and I live on dried bread. And then for 2 days, we have nothing to eat whatsoever.
Eric, do you mind if we stop for a moment? I am feeling a bit woozy.
Me too. My blood has been replaced with lukewarm water. And why is my saliva turned all white? It looks like cuckoo spit.
That's unusual. I hear fasting is quite pleasant after the 4th day. Some people can endure 3 weeks or more.
Oh, perhaps your flatmate could help us out. Well, he's paying you back at 2 francs per day, isn't he? Maybe he could pay you more.
I was meaning to tell you about him.
What's happened?
Well, while I was asleep last night, he stole that 2 days' francs from under my pillow. He's no intention of giving the money back or of ever paying me again.
Can't you talk him round?
I'm afraid not. My Jewish friend is already 1 week behind with his rent and plans to escape before the patron catches up with him.
This is terrible. Without that money, We have barely 25 centimes between us.
Never fear, my friend. I think it's time for a vigorous move.
We return, famished, to Boris's attic room. As we stare at the bug-infested ceiling, smoking the last of our cigarettes, Boris lays out his plan.
Eric, I must get my possessions out of this house as quickly as possible. Then we can pawn our overcoats and get some food.
But how can you do that in daytime? The patron and his wife are always on the lookout for people slipping out without paying. You're bound to get caught.
Allow me to explain my strategy.
I've heard enough of your strategies for a while, Boris. Thank you.
Oh, how easily you despair, mon ami. Where is that English courage that I have read so much about, huh?
This better be good.
So, here is the plan. One of us will hold the patron's attention for 5 seconds, while the other slips past with the suitcase and the overcoats.
How will we do that?
I know his weak spot. He loves to talk about le sport.
But neither of us knows anything about Le Sport.
I have thoroughly digested a recent article in the Petit Parisien about bicycle races. I will engage him on that.
So, if you are talking to the patron, I have to take the suitcase?
It's a brilliant plan, don't you think?
Yes, quite brilliant.
I will cough loudly when we reach a favorable moment. Good luck.
Ah, Monsieur Fontan, nice to see you. Henry. Monsieur Fontan, what do you think of young Leduc's prospects in these years, too?
I wait, trembling, at the foot of the stairs. I fear the patron's wife will come out of her office at any moment.
He will push over any player who tries to get near him, huh? But I hear that you... Excuse me.
There's my signal. I sneak rapidly past the office, suitcase and overcoats in hand, and out onto the Rue Pascal. Boris's big shoulders block the doorway of the office. His laugh is also so loud that it covers any noise I make. A few minutes later, Boris joins me round the corner beside a fromagerie.
Brilliant work, comrade. Now, run!
As if by a miracle, our luck is changing. As we pass through the Rue Broca, I see a 5-sou piece glittering on the cobbles, enough for us to buy potatoes for dinner. I also take our last remaining items to a pawn shop in the Marais. It's in a dark courtyard between a brothel and a shop selling religious relics. I am not hopeful. What would I get for 2 shabby overcoats in a cardboard suitcase? 10 francs at best, or even 5.
50 francs! 50 francs!
That night, Boris and I bought bread and wine and a piece of meat, and we gorged like wolves.
What did I tell you? The fortunes of war. We start the day with nothing, and now look at us.
Well, as you always say, Boris, there's nothing easier to get than money.
Makes a change from all that writing nonsense.
Writing is an honourable job.
Dishonourable ones pay a lot better.
You sound like my father.
Oh, he disapproves of your choice of career?
He wanted me to become a policeman or a soldier. I tried. In Burma, the whole business disgusted me.
And all this doesn't disgust you?
Not at all. I'm rather enjoying myself.
Well, let us drink to that then. And the end of our fasting days.
Boris quickly drank away his share of the money. I, on the other hand, have 8 francs and plenty of cigarettes. I'm also stuffed to the eyes with food and drink and ready to start writing again. Boris, however, has other ideas.
Eric, tell me, do you have any political opinion?
Nope.
Would you object to earning money from communists?
I'm a freelance writer. I'll go with whoever pays me.
Good. You see, there is a secret society of Russians in Paris who might be able to help us.
But I'm not Russian.
Ah, that is exactly my point. You see, these chaps run a newspaper. They're looking for someone to write about English politics.
I don't know anything about politics.
There's a Paris edition of the Daily Mail, isn't there? Copy it from that.
But the Daily Mail is a conservative paper. They loathe the communists.
So, say the opposite of what the Daily Mail says. Then you can be wrong.
Look, I don't like this, Boris. If the police catch me working for a communist paper, I'll be deported. Hey, give me that back!
The Rue de Coq d'Or was a place for those who have given up trying to be normal or decent. What kind of artistic drill is this? We mustn't throw this chance away, my friend.
I see you have no problem working with your parents' killers, then.
A job is a job, Eric. Even if it is for communist paper. This is too good to miss.
That afternoon, we make our way to a shabby street near the Chamber of Deputies. The sewers smell terribly and there's an overpowering stench of rotten food. The newspaper offices are above a laundry at the top of a dark staircase. We enter a small, shabby room with a huge picture of Lenin tacked to the wall. Our host is an unshaven Russian in shirt sleeves.
You are very careless. Why have you come here without any washing?
Washing?
Everybody who comes here brings washing. Then it looks as if they are going to the laundry downstairs. Bring a good, large bundle next time. We don't want the police on our tracks, huh? Do you have your entrance fee?
Entrance fee? For what?
Thank you, Eric. We have 5 francs today, comrade. The remaining 15 will be with you shortly.
I suppose that will do. So, comrade, I hear you are a keen follower of the English political scene.
Yeah, I am, yes. The Labour Party's in a terrible state. I can't see Ramsay Mac holding for much longer.
I see you have a thorough knowledge of conditions in England. Could you write a series for our Moscow Weekly? Our rate is 150 francs per article.
Yeah! Sorry.
Certainly, certainly. I'd be honoured.
Then you will hear from us by first post tomorrow. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, thank you.
Or perhaps the second. And remember to bring a parcel of washing with you next time.
At last, our fortune really is made. Oh, did you hear him call you comrade? No, yeah. 150 francs, Eric. I feel a celebratory cigar coming on.
Next morning, I rushed down to the bistro to greet the first and the second post. Nothing. Three days pass in this fashion. Perhaps the secret society has found somebody else to write their articles. After 10 days, I decide to pay the Russians a visit. Naturally, I'm careful to bring a parcel that looks like washing. The editor has vanished. Who he was, or what he did, nobody knew. He had nothing to do with the Communist Party, that was for sure. I think he was simply a swindler who preyed on Russian refugees and naive English writers. Now, I have to admit he was clever. The office had looked exactly like a secret communist office, and as for the parcel of washing, that was a stroke of genius.
Oh, well, at least we only pay him 5 francs instead of 20. That is some consolation.
And we're back where we started.
What are we going to do now?
Well, I have two pieces of news, Eric. I am pursuing a vacancy at the five-star hotel near the Place de la Concorde.
Good luck.
You bastardish! How dare you, sir? You have assaulted the captain of the Russian army and a British nobleman.
Now, where was I? Oh, yes, my other news. You recall my Russian friend in the Rue de Commerce?
The man who keeps promising to open a restaurant but never does.
The very one. Well, he has asked me to come here this morning to discuss my prospects. Tell me, do you think I look hungry?
You look pale, Boris.
No good, no good. It's fatal to look hungry. Makes people want to kick you. Wait. Ow!
What are you doing?
I'm trying to bring some color to these pale cheeks. Is good? Good. Now let us hurry in before the flush has faded.
The patron is a short, fat man in a double-breasted suit. He looks like an incompetent cheat, but Boris is not discouraged.
Monsieur le patron assures me that I will be maître d'hôtel when the restaurant opens.
And you, Monsieur Eric, will be the principal plongeur.
Plongeur?
Our dishwasher. If trade is good, you have every chance of rising to lavatory attendant.
How exciting. And when will the restaurant open?
The auberge will open exactly a fortnight from today, in time for lunch!
Oh, marvelous! Until then, my friend. Sasha! See how wonderful life is. Can
Boris.
change in a moment, Eric.
Boris.
A moment. Oh, only 2 weeks to hold out, eh?
Look, Boris,
To think that I will soon have mistress again.
Boris.
Will she be dark or fair? I wonder.
Boris, that restaurant is a disaster. The dining room is grotesque. The kitchen is no bigger than a bathroom. And to cap it all, I saw 2 bailiffs hanging about at the back door.
I thought they were customers.
Boris.
Oh, rats!
2 bad days follow. We sit on a park bench in the Jardin des Plantes, watching office girls walk by in their spring dresses. As Boris and I watch longingly,
Beef
we create our favourite menus.
with stewed plums.
We have only 60 centimes left.
Half a dozen, no, a dozen oysters. Borscht, new potatoes, suet pudding, Roquefort cheese, a liter of Burgundy, and some old brandy.
We are too hungry to think of anything but food. I am too lazy to do anything but sleep. But then...
Eric! Eric!
What?
I have found a job at that hotel by the Place de la Concorde. I stole a few scraps for you. Here, look. Minced veal, a wedge of camembert, some bread, and an eclair.
This is delicious. Stolen food always tastes good, don't you think?
There's more where this came from. One of the plongeurs left today. I put in a word for you.
Yes?
And you start tomorrow.
The next morning, I arrive at what I will call the Hotel X at 7:15. A stream of men are hurrying in. The assistant manager greets me. He is an Italian with a round, pale face, haggard from overwork.
Have you washed the dishes before?
Of course.
You're lying. I can tell from your hands. Still, all our guests are American. We need someone to practice our English on. You come downstairs.
We enter a narrow passage deep underground. The stifling heat and cramped space remind me of the lower decks of an ocean liner.
What's that humming noise?
It's the kitchen furnaces. You'll get used to
We
it.
pass doorways which sometimes let out a shouting of oaths, sometimes the red glare of a fire, and once a shuddering draught from an ice chamber. What was that?
The porters are taking ice blocks to the kitchen. Each one weighs 100 pounds or so. You keep pulling away, huh? Here is your station. You serve your meals to the senior kitchen and staff, but then I wash up afterwards. And I shave off that silly moustache. Only the cooks are allowed to have silly moustaches. You understand?
My new home is a cellar below a cellar. The temperature is 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Washing up is odious, boring and silly, and yet it's easy work. Apart, that is, from when I go to the kitchen. The kitchen of the Hotel X is like nothing I had ever seen or imagined. It is a stifling, low-ceilinged inferno. 12 cooks skip to and fro, their faces dripping with sweat. Scullions, naked to the waist, stoke fires and scour huge copper saucepans. There are 3 counters for dispatching food. Everyone seems to be in a hurry and a rage, including the head cook.
2 scrambled eggs, 1 shadow brio with sauteed potatoes. Hey! Hey! Which lunatic asylum did you come from?
I'm from England, actually.
Well, you English son of a bitch! Make sure you put a place on the correct counter! Okay!
Thanks!
I'm called Macro, Pimp or Ponce 39 times that day. I finally finish work at 9:15. The assistant manager pays me 25 francs for 14.5 hours work. I fully expect to be given the sack, but the assistant manager has other ideas.
The head cook says he enjoys calling an Englishman foul names. Can you sign on for a month?
Yes. Thank you. I work 6 days a week at the Hotel X. It's grueling work. I prepare meals with Boris and a wonderful Italian waiter called Valenti. Our first burst of work comes at 8 when the 102 guests begin to demand breakfast. The service lifts land with a simultaneous crash. You're buttering toast when down comes an order for tea, rolls and 3 kinds of jam. At the same time, down comes another demanding scrambled eggs, coffee and grapefruit. It's like sorting a pack of cards against the clock. But Valenti always pulls us through.
It takes a year to make a reliable kitchen hand, you know? Pass that toss, will you?
Yeah, I'm dead before that. I must have walked 15 miles today, and this heat is just... it's making me sick.
Here, suck on some ice. We're almost done.
Lunch is another period of pandemonium. And then at 6:30, the grand turmoil of the day begins. The dinner hour. I wish I could be Zola for a little while, just to describe the situation. 102 people demanding individually different meals of 5 or 6 courses with 50 or 60 people to cook, serve and then clean up the mess. The whole staff is tired out. Many of them are drunk. At 8:30, the work stops abruptly. We lie on the floor, resting our legs.
How do you cope, Valenti? Huh? It's a den of maniacs.
I've been doing this for 14 years. I'm like a piston rod. In this job, you have to be hard, you have to be tough.
You're a kitchen slave, not a soldier.
Oh, so what? I'm proud of what I do. Aren't you?
All I've learnt here is the true value of sleep.
Well, that's something. Come on, let's set up for tomorrow.
Once a week, Valenti and I exchanged the kitchen for the relative calm of the 4th floor pantry. Valenti is good company. He knows the Hotel X's deepest secrets.
Everyone is on the take, huh? The cellarman steals brandy, the waiters sell broken bread, and the cooks snatch whatever they can get their hands on, huh? Look, help me out with this, will you? Okay.
Valenti is a typical waiter. He is a snob in a black tailcoat and white tie. With a bow and a smile, he sucks up to the rich customers and laughs at their jokes. He takes pains to serve with style because he feels he is participating in the meal himself. Never feel sorry for a waiter. They find the servile nature of their work rather congenial.
What's in this sink?
Wait, that's my dishwater.
So I need to wash my face. What's so funny?
Well, I was just thinking about how there's only a double door between that spotless dining room and this disgusting filth.
That lot'll never notice.
Valenti, look around you. There are cockroaches in the bread bin and dirt all over the walls.
We clean where it matters.
That's my point. We scrub the dining tables and polish the brasswork because that's our job. Back here, it's revolting. Aren't you ashamed?
My main job is to be on time. And I save time, like everyone else does around here, by being dirty.
But, Valenti, can't you see how crazy this is? Everyone's too busy getting food ready to remember it has to be eaten.
That's how it goes. Come. Let's say I drop a piece of toast, huh? I know that it must look right and be ready immediately, so I pick it up, wipe off the sawdust, and sweat, and carry on. And you think I'm the only one? Watch the head cook inspecting a steak. He prods it with his fat pink fingers, every one of which he's licked 100 times that morning, then licks the gravy. Once the cook has wiped his fingerprints off the plate, the waiter dips in his nasty, greasy fingers.
All right, I've heard enough, thank you.
You know, the more one pays for food in Paris, the more sweat and spittle you're obliged to eat with it. Huh? Here, keep this roast chicken in polish, will you? It fell down the lift shaft.
The Hotel X is one of the most expensive hotels in Paris. Most of the guests are American or millionaires. As a result, they are remarkably easy to swindle. The ordinary charge for a night's lodging, not including breakfast, is 200 francs. If the customer has a title or is reputed to be a millionaire, all his charges go up automatically.
1 chicken a la king for table 4.
Our guests also know nothing about good food. One customer from Pittsburgh dines every night on grape nuts, scrambled eggs and cocoa. Another asks for a breakfast of salt and hot water. Valenti charges him the usual 25 francs. The customer pays without a murmur. Perhaps it hardly matters if such people are swindled or not.
Enjoying hotel life, mon ami.
Well, it's better than I thought. After paying rent and tobacco, I have 4 francs a day left over for drinks.
4 francs? Oh, that's true. Well, not true.
You know, I could get used to this. I'm like a contented beast. I work and I sleep. I have no time to think. Paris has shrunk to the hotel, the metro, this bistro, and my bed.
Ah, your bed. But don't get too comfortable. I saw the patron of the auberge today, and he swears they will open in 2 weeks' time. Can you imagine? At last, I will be maître d', and we will have more women than we can possibly handle.
Yes, but didn't he say that 2 weeks ago, Boris?
Citizens!
Remember?
Fury, she's starting up.
Who on earth is that?
Citizens of the Republic!
Fury's a strange creature. He works steadily all week as a stonemason, and then on Saturdays he drinks himself stupid. Doesn't he? Look, here
Are there any Frenchmen here this evening? I rise to remind them of the glorious days of the war, when one remembers the heroes who are dead. One remembers the heroes who are dead.
Everyone's laughing at him.
Yeah, that's because Furex is a communist when he's sober and a violent patriot when he's drunk. He makes the same speech every Saturday night, no? He does. Come on, Furex, speak up, come on.
The heroes Yeah? The heroes!
Oh, my God!
This was how Boris and I passed our Saturday evenings. While the wine was flowing, we felt like a notable set of people, but by 1:30 we were merely a crew of underpaid workmen grown squalidly and dismally drunk. One night there was a murder beneath my window. A man lay dead on the cobbles, his skull cracked with a piece of lead piping. I was in bed and asleep within 3 minutes of the attack, as were most of the people in my street. Well, we're working people. Why waste sleep over a murder?
Eric, come on, wake up. Wake up, my friend. You can give notice at the hotel. The auberge opens tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, of course. We shall need a day or two to finalize a few little things, but we are on our way. Come on.
Are you sure about this? I don't want to give up my job for nothing.
No, absolutely. Don't go back to sleep. Come on, hand in your notice and meet me in an hour, yes? Come on. Voilà, l'auberge de Jean Cottard.
Boris? You said a few little things needed doing. There's no water or electricity here. There's no kitchen stoves.
This is true. There is some work to do, yes, but with our help, the patron will achieve his dream.
So, your friend is employing us as workmen, not waiters, which means he won't pay us or feed us until the restaurant opens. It's just... I've given up a good job for nothing.
10 days passed.
Attack! Attack! Yeah! Attack!
As Boris and I wait for the restaurant to open, we clean out the cellars, fix the shelves and stain the floor. But the water and electricity remain off because the patron cannot pay his bills. We loaf about the empty restaurant, too hungry even to get on with the work that remains. Only Boris now believes that the restaurant will open. He thinks the patron's money is tied up in shares and that he is waiting for a favourable moment for selling. On the 10th day, I tell the patron that I can no longer continue working without an advance on my wages. The patron promises the advance and then, as usual, vanishes. I am absolutely at the end of my money. My rent is several days overdue. And worst of all, I'm back on a diet of dry bread. I do not feel equal to a scene with my landlady, so I pass the nights on a street bench. As I lie there, amid the rubbish and the rats, I have plenty of time to think. I was a fool to deliver myself into the hands of those Russians. But it's too late now. And then... finally, we open for business.
Eric, we made it! Amazing what the lick of paint will do, eh?
Boris, there are 2 large rats sitting on our kitchen table.
Oh? Do they have reservation?
Very funny.
Oh, come on, Eric, come on, mon ami. Look out there. Every table is occupied. We even have some French people here.
Our kitchen is a pigsty. The floor is an inch deep in stale food. I'm scraping grease off plates with bits of newspaper.
Mere details, my friend. I don't hear you complaining about the 500 francs a week and free food.
Yes, for a 17-hour day and no day off.
Would you rather be back on that park bench?
At least it was clean and quiet, which is more than I can say for this godforsaken place.
Life soon settles into a routine that makes the Hotel X seem like a holiday. Every day at 6, I drive myself out of bed and fight for a place on the metro. By 7, I am in the cold, filthy kitchen. A pile of greasy plates awaits my attention. Potato skins, bones and fishtails from the previous night litter the floor. At 11, the first customers start to arrive. Suddenly, everything becomes hurry and bad temper. It's not the same furious rushing and yelling as at the Hotel X, but an atmosphere of muddle, petty spite and exasperation.
No, the other one. Look out, that stick's burning.
Our lady cook, a Baltic Russian, 5 feet tall and a yard across the hips, keeps up a ceaseless, nagging chorus of orders.
How many times I told you not to bleed the beetroots? Put the knives away. What have you done with my trainer?
This goes on until 3, except when the cook has an attack of nerves. Between 3 and 5, I work frantically to get all the plates cleaned before dinner. By now, the cook and I are feeling unsteady on our feet, having not eaten or sat down since 7. We drink pints of tea to keep going. At 5:30, the hurry and quarrelling begin again. It's worse than before because everyone is tired out.
I never thought my life would come to this. I studied music in Vienna. I was first bassoonist.
Oh, shush, woman!
In what?
All right. Who has stolen my tips? Huh?
By this point, I am neurasthenic with fatigue. The quarrels become continuous.
Get me that saucepan, idiot.
Get it yourself, little cow.
Yeah, move it, bean.
Move it yourself, cow.
At 11, we stop to eat. At midnight, thankfully, the cook leaves.
These hours will be death of me. Tomorrow I quit.
Leaving me to finish the washing up. Sometimes I miss the last metro and have to sleep on the restaurant floor. It hardly matters. By this time, I could sleep on cobblestones. This wretched life goes on for over a month, until I can stand it no more. I have to escape.
Eric. Eric?
When I have a quarter of an hour free, I write to my friend Brenda in London.
What's this? Not more artistic nonsense, I hope.
Boris, please, that's a private letter.
My dear Brenda, I need to ask you a small favour. Could you please help me to find a job of some sort in England? Anything so long as it allows more than 5 hours sleep. You're not leaving us, are you?
Not, yet.
I feed you. I find you work. And this is how you thank me?
Boris.
See the treachery? You're the most ungrateful, Eric. You're inconsiderate. You're selfish and you shallow-minded. You're incompetent, Eric. You're short-sighted. Damn you!
I'm sorry about that, listeners. While I wait for a reply from my friend, I want to leave you with a few thoughts on the life of a dishwasher. A dishwasher is a slave, and a wasted slave at that. Why are so many people tied to such useless drudgery? I believe it is from fear of the mob. The mob, so the middle and upper classes say, are such low animals that they would be dangerous if they had leisure. It is safer to keep them too busy to think. This is a superstitious fear. It's based on the idea that there is some mysterious, fundamental difference between rich and poor, as though they were two different races. In reality, there is no such difference. The average millionaire is only the average dishwasher dressed in a new suit. The next time you treat yourself to a fine meal or a weekend away, remember that. What is the point of big hotels and smart restaurants? They're supposed to provide luxury, but in reality, they provide only a cheap, shoddy imitation of it. A smart hotel is where 100 people toil like devils in order that 200 may pay through the nose for things they do not want or need. Until next week, goodbye.
In Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell, adapted for radio by P.G. Morgan, George Orwell was played by Samuel Barnett. Boris was played by Stephen Greif. Madame Falaise by Claire Vousden. The Russian cook by Rachel Bavage. And the pawn shop owner by John Dougal. Other parts were played by Anthony Glennon, Jasmine Callan and Sam Dale. The producer was Stephen Canny.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Down and Out in Paris and London by me, that is Eric Arthur Blair, better known as George Orwell. Adapted for BBC Radio by someone called P.G. Morgan. Part 2, From Paris to London. Now, where did we get to? Oh yes, Paris, September 1928. How could I forget that squalid kitchen at the auberge?
Imbecile! What did I tell you? You must never ever let peas boil over.
I was watching the peas until you made me chop the celery, scale the herrings and wash the dishes.
Well, this plate's filthy. Wipe it on apron and... But what happened to these steaks?
They fell on the floor.
Oh, give them here.
What are you doing?
I'm washing them. They're for American couple on table 4. They won't notice.
So here we are, back in the Auberge de Jean Cottard, a decidedly chic restaurant in the Marais district of Paris. The medieval streets of the Marais contain some of Paris's most elegant hotels and restaurants. The Auberge, I'm afraid, is not one of them. I've been working here for the past month as part of my investigation into poverty and how it affects people's lives. Mine, mostly. Sorry.
Well,
excuse me.
Where's Strainer? What have you done with my Strainer? I cannot function without my Strainer.
Our cook is Russian. She has attacks of nerves every evening at 6 and 9. Our senior waiter is a malignant Hungarian called Jules. His speciality is wringing wet dishcloths into customers' soup. His revenge on the bourgeoisie, apparently. And then there is my dear friend Boris, our maitre d'.
Mon ami. Eric, mon ami.
Who got me into this medieval pigsty in the first place.
Life is good, yes?
Oh, couldn't be better, Boris. We have rats in the kitchen and rotten meat in the garden. The cook and I are constantly quarrelling
And you are making 500 francs a month.
As a slave. I work 17 hours a day, and most nights I'm too tired to go home. I sleep on the kitchen floor.
Yeah, at least you have a job and a bed. Oh, by the way, these letters arrived from you from England.
Well, are you going to let me read it or not?
It's from your lady friend.
Then you better give it to me.
Here, let me see that. Come on. Dear Eric, as requested, I have found escape route for you. Some family friends need a tutor to look after their son. A congenital imbecile in the Suffolk countryside. Yours ever, Brenda. So it's true. You're going to leave us, aren't you?
Yes, I'm afraid so, Boris. This is my ticket back to England. Mwah!
You can't leave now. The auberge is a roaring success.
don't care. I'm going home. I will dine on roast lamb and treacle tart. I will sleep 10 hours a night in sheets smelling of lavender.
Don't kid yourself, Eric. You'll miss the bright lights soon enough.
What bright lights? All I've seen for the past month is dirty plates.
Then think of the food, the tips. The women.
You can keep them, Boris. Warts and all.
Well, it's your loss. You won't forget your old friend, will you?
How could I?
You look after yourself, young man, and always remember Boris's motto, huh? Attack. 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 Hmm? Hmm.
3 days later, I travelled third class to London via Dunkirk and Tilbury. I shared the saloon with 27 men and 16 women. Among them were a Romanian couple who were going to England on their honeymoon. I was so pleased to be home after months of being hard up in a foreign city that I told them some startling lies.
So, how would you compare London and Paris, Mr. Blair?
Oh, well, after Paris, England is a sort of paradise.
What do you like about paradise?
Well, there's marmalade and beer and new potatoes properly cooked, and then there are armchairs and bathrooms.
Bathrooms, you say?
Yes, everything in England has a certain refinement, if you can afford it.
It sounds wonderful.
In fact, I'd say that on every count, scenery, art, literature and law, England is damn near perfect.
How about the architecture? Is that good?
Oh, it's splendid. Paris is vulgar by comparison. Half grandiosity and half slums. Trust me, London is infinitely better. At that point, the boat drew alongside Tilbury Pier. The first building we saw was one of those ghastly hotels, all stucco and pinnacles, which stare from the English coast like idiots staring over an asylum wall.
Built by French architects.
Of course. I kept up my speech about the beauties of English architecture, even as our train crawled through London's eastern slums. Nothing seemed too good to say about England, now that I was home and not hard up anymore.
Brenda.
Eric. Gosh, this is a surprise.
A pleasant one, I hope.
Yes, of course. A very pleasant one. Come in.
Oh, that's my first bath in 3 weeks. Thank you.
I thought as much. Look, I'm sorry about being so offhand earlier. Your letter came completely out of the blue. I haven't heard from you in months.
I'm sorry. I meant to write from Paris, but honestly, I've never worked so hard or slept so little in my life.
So your little experiment was a success?
Definitely. I'm hoping there's an essay or even a book in this. Excuse me.
And what will this great book be about?
It'll show people what it's like to be down and out. To go without food for 3 days, to live on scraps and handouts, to be humiliated and spat upon.
Well, I'm sure there's a huge audience for that. Why do you make yourself suffer so?
It's not about suffering, Brenda. It's about telling people the truth. Poverty is all around us, but we choose not to see it.
Well, there must be easier ways to gather material.
Oh, that's true. I could have stayed at home and made it all up.
No, I'm only asking because I'm worried about you, Eric. Why put yourself through this?
I think it's because I feel an immense amount of don't know. Guilt.
About what?
Oh, my snobbish middle-class upbringing, for serving in Burma as a police officer and then for leaving that job and disappointing my parents.
You're a mess, aren't you?
Yes, I'm afraid so. What I want, more than anything, is to get out of the respectable world altogether.
And you think tramping's the answer?
I'm happiest living amongst the lowest of the low. Any kind of success is spiritually ugly to me.
That's nonsense.
You think?
You know as well as I do that you could stop this at any moment and run back to Mummy and Daddy. You're just pretending to be poor.
No, I don't want anything more to do with my parents. I can't bear to be in the same room as them. And thanks to this new job, I'll be able to keep it that way.
Oh, the job.
I started working on my opening chapters in Paris. I don't want to embarrass anyone by publishing as Eric Blair, so I thought I'd use a pseudonym. What do you think of P.S. Burton?
No, I don't think so.
Kenneth Miles?
That makes you sound like a school teacher. Or an accountant.
Right. How about H. Lewis Always?
Definitely not. Look, since my letter, there's been a change of plan. Your employers have gone abroad, I'm afraid. Patient and all.
So I've come all this way for nothing?
No, well, they'll be back in Walberswick in a month. You can hang on till then, can't you?
I can't last a month, Bea. I have only 19 shillings to my name.
Well, let me lend you some money,
I
then.
don't need charity, Brenda.
You can't return to tramping.
Why not? I'm only pretending to be poor, apparently.
Eric, wait. I'm sorry if I offended you.
No, don't be. I can look after myself, you know. I hear that it's notoriously hard to starve in London. So let's put it to the test, shall we? So I'm back on the street. I have a month to wait and exactly 19 shillings and sixpence in hand. Brilliant. Not having the slightest notion of how to get a cheap bed in London, I go to a family hotel off Lambeth High Street where the charge is 7 and sixpence. Once I take dinner into account, I have 10 shillings and twopence left. It's time for what my old friend Boris would call a vigorous move. I go to a pawn shop in a smelly, soot-blackened street near the embankment to sell my clothes.
What we got then?
The owner is a large blonde young man, very pink all over, like a slice of ham. He feels my jacket between his thumb and forefinger.
Poor stuff. Very poor stuff, this is.
It's quite a good suit.
That's as may be. What do you want for all this?
I want to exchange them for some older clothes, and as much money as you can spare.
Yeah. Coat, dungarees, scarf and a cloth cap.
They're filthy.
What you talking about? They're good as new. Off you go.
What about my money?
Oh, pardon me.
I was hoping for £1.
Well, a shilling's all I got. Unless, of course, you'd rather go without.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I have worn bad clothes before, but none quite as bad as these. They have a patina of antique filth quite different from mere shabbiness. An hour later, I see a hangdog man, obviously a tramp, coming towards me. When I look again, I realise the tramp is me reflected in a shop window. My new clothes put me instantly in a new world. For the first time, I notice how the attitude of women varies with a man's clothes. When a badly dressed man passes them, they shudder as though he were a dead cat. Clothes are powerful things. Dressed in a tramp's clothes, I feel genuinely downgraded, like a man spending his first day in prison. I keep on the move. I'm afraid that if I don't, the police will arrest me as a vagabond. By 11 that night, I am exhausted and miserable.
Hey, where's the funeral?
What funeral? I'm sorry?
Thought you were going to a funeral, mate, judging by your long face.
No one's ever called me mate before.
Oh, well, get used to it. We're all mates down here. My name's Gordon. Former quartermaster HMS Arbroath.
Pleased to meet you, Gordon. I'm Burton, P.S. Burton.
Oh, what do you do, Mr. Burton?
I'm a teacher. I teach English to French people in France.
Oh, of course you do. Well, Mr. Burton, looks like you need a good night's kip.
Do you know somewhere?
Oh, that depends. What kind of a place are you looking for?
I want the cheapest bed I can get.
Oh, a posh fella like you.
I'm stony broke, and likely to remain so for a considerable time.
Oh, well, fair enough. Happens to the best of us. You see that place across the street there? There in the Waterloo Road?
Good beds for single men?
Aye. They'll look after you. It's cheap and clean. Tell them Gordon sent you. Good luck.
The boarding house is a tall, battered-looking building with dim lights in all the windows. A pale-looking boy with sleepy eyes demands $1 for a bed and leads me up a rickety staircase to a foul-smelling bedroom. It's 15 feet square and 8 feet high. 6 lodgers are already in bed. Queer, lumpy shapes with all their clothes, even their boots, piled on top of them. My pillow, I don't believe this, is a block of wood. The bed is as hard as a board. The sheets are a raw umber colour and stink so horribly of sweat that I cannot bear them near my nose. I settle down to sleep.
Oh, you're all a bunch of bleeding tow rags, you hear? Shut your face, you big cut. Me pig.
Several noises recur during the night. Once an hour, a sailor wakes up and swears. Another man uses his chamber pot over 6 times. And then there is the man with the unspeakably repellent cough. A foul bubbling and retching as though his bowels were being churned up within him. He is a very old man with a grey, sunken face like a corpse. His trousers are wrapped around his head like a nightcap, a thing which, for some reason, disgusts me very much.
You're all a bunch of bleeding tow rags,
You all,
you hear?
please, shut up. For heaven's sake, shut up.
I get about an hour's sleep in all. The lodging house was neither cheap nor clean, and I am down to my last 8 shillings. In England, tramps are only allowed to stay one night in these shelters before they have to move on. This is meant to encourage them to find work. It usually has quite the opposite effect. On this occasion, however, I have to say it was a blessing. After a large tea and 2 slices of bread and butter, a meal which Londoners swallow every 2 hours, I loaf the streets for hours and hours. I walk from Wapping to Whitechapel, watching the crowds. I have nothing better to do. It's strange. Everything is much cleaner and quieter and drearier than Paris. There's less drunkenness, less quarrelling, and more idling. London is the land of the tea urn and the labour exchange, as Paris is the land of the bistro and the sweatshop. There are street meetings everywhere, and a confused uproar of voices.
Singing evangel, save your soul, dear friends, for a mere...
And we, as brother Mormons, believe in the divine sanctity of polygamous union.
We're polygamists. You want it both ways, you do?
Always more like.
Almighty God, maker of all things!
Have you seen God?
You show him to me and I'll believe in him. Don't get on the argument, Mrs. Swaller. Let him speak.
Maker of all things, heaven and earth.
Don't step out of it. Have you seen God?
Have you touched him? You shook hands.
I listen for 20 minutes, but the meeting never gets beyond shouts. It's all very queer after Paris. After 3 days and 4 nights of endless tramping, I am down to my last halfpenny. I'm too embarrassed to ask Brenda for money. The only solution is to head to one of those overnight hostels where I can stay for nothing. Tramps call these cold, unpleasant places spikes, a reference to the tools that they are given at each hostel. The tramps are expected to perform some manual labour in return for their free lodging. The nearest spike is in a place I'll call Rompton.
By God, where the hell did you get hold of that baccy?
The first person I meet in Rompton is an Irish tramp called Paddy Jakes. He's a friendly old man, but he smells very unpleasant.
There's sixpence worth of good baccy in there. Now, you ain't been on the road long, have you?
Don't you have tobacco on the road?
Oh, we has us. Now, there's 20 or 30 cigarette ends in here. If you're clever, you can pick up 2 ounces a day off the pavements. Keeps me sane, it does.
How long have you been tramping?
Oh, a couple of years now. Could you do with a cup of tea? The spike don't open till 6.
Well, that'll help pass the time. Do you have somewhere in mind?
Well, there's a place near here where they give you a cup of tea and a bun. Good tea, it is.
Do we have to pay?
No.
I didn't realise we could get free food.
Well, they make you say a lot of bloody prayers after, but what the hell? Come with me.
And so we make our way to a small tin-roofed shed. About 25 other tramps are waiting there. A few of them are dirty old vagabonds, but the majority are decent-looking lads from the north, probably miners or cotton workers out of a job. As we drink our tea and eat our buns, a lady in a blue silk dress and a crucifix walks among us. She talks about Jesus Christ and the importance of saying our prayers regularly. We all hate it and make off as soon as we can.
I thought them bloomin' prayers were never going to end.
Yeah, you had your band, Paddy. You got to pay for it.
Pray for it, you mean?
Yeah, you don't get much for nothing, do you?
You can't even get a tuppenny cup of tea without going down on your bleeding knees for it.
I couldn't understand it. The tea had been excellent. We were all glad to receive it, yet all the tramps, including Paddy, were far from grateful. They had been humiliated, and there was worse to come. Rompton Spike is a grim yellow cube of brick in the grounds of a workhouse. It looks and smells like a prison. The scene in the bathroom is extraordinarily repulsive. 50 dirty, stark-naked men, a graceless, mangy crew, elbowing each other in a room 20 feet square with only 2 bathtubs and 2 slimy towels between them. I shall never forget the reek of dirty feet. Dinner is a wedge of bread smeared with margarine and a pint of bitter, sugarless cocoa. At 7 o'clock, I am put in a stone cell with Roger, a thin, scrubby-faced fellow with a squint.
Here we are then, until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yes, here we are.
What's wrong?
Something's missing.
Well, we got blankets, a chamber pot and hot water pipe to keep us warm. What more do you want?
Damn it, where are the beds?
Beds? Beds? There ain't no beds. What do you expect? This is one of them spikes where you sleep on the floor. Ain't you got used to that yet?
Roger and I lie a foot apart, breathing into one another's faces. To my left, a wave of black things moves slowly across the floor. They are black beetles. At about midnight, my cellmate began making advances. Homosexual advances. It was a nasty experience in a locked, pitch-dark cell.
What's the matter? Only do it in a bed, do ya?
Roger is a feeble creature and I manage him easily. He tells me that homosexuality is common among tramps of long standing, but still, it is impossible to go to sleep again. At 8, we are let out and lined up for a smallpox inspection by a student doctor.
Take your clothes off, man.
Yes, sir. Right away.
And the rest of you jump to it.
A tramp's clothes are bad, but they conceal far worse things. What ruinous, degenerate curs we were. Flat feet, pot bellies, hollow chests, sagging muscles, every kind of physical rottenness is here. Nearly everyone, I am appalled to see, is undernourished and some clearly diseased.
All right? All right, you're clear. Nasty cough you've got there.
Can you give me something?
That's not my department, old chap. Stay out of the cold.
Thanks. I'll try. The gates open and we disperse. A long, slouching procession for another day of endless, pointless walking.
Mr. Burton, how was your night?
Oh, a bit uncomfortable, Paddy, you know.
Ah, well, it's good to smell the fresh air again, ain't it?
Well, anything's better than that awful, shut-in subfecal stench.
Well, I'm not sure I ever smelled treacle in there, but I know what you mean about the stink. Some of those blokes haven't washed in a million years.
Yes, quite.
You want some Becky, huh? My cellmate gave me a few more butts.
That's very kind of you, Paddy, but no, thanks.
Well, suit yourself. Where are you heading now?
I don't know.
I'm off to Edbury. It's 12 miles or so from here, but the digs are flying enough. Or would you like to come with me?
Paddy is my mate for the next fortnight as we tramp around the spikes of Essex. Most of the time we sleep in fields and meadows. Now and then we make a miserable fire and heat up water in Paddy's billy can for a mug of tea. Paddy is typical of the tens of thousands of tramps in England. He wears a tweed shooting jacket and a pair of old evening trousers with the braids still on them, a lingering scrap of respectability.
I'll tell you something, though.
He talks constantly.
It breaks your heart going into them bloody spikes. But what's a man to do? I haven't had a good meat meal for about 2 months, and me belly... Oh, hold on. There's a bottle of milk on that doorstep going to waste. Somebody could knock that bottle off, eh? Knock it off easy.
You're not going to steal it.
Well, there's no one around. Oh, best leave it. It don't do a man no good to steal. Now, thank God, I never stole nothing yet.
Paddy has no stomach for crime. With 2 or 3 sound meals in his belly, he would have found the courage to steal the milk. But hunger keeps him virtuous.
I'll tell you something, though. I could do with another cup of tea and a sit down.
Paddy, we stopped for tea 20 minutes ago.
Aye, but my feet are getting bad.
Well, there's a library across the street. You could rest your legs in there.
I don't want to read. The sight of all that bloody print makes me sick.
Oh, come on, Paddy. Just for a minute.
I hate them books. I was looking at a book shop window just the other week, and there was this book called The Imitation of Christ. Now, what the hell do they want to go imitating of him for?
It's not meant literally, Paddy.
If you say so. Here, have a bite of this sandwich.
You just picked that off the street.
I know. Finders keepers. Go on.
Thanks.
Hey, look at that old bugger.
The one digging up the road?
That's the one. Keeping able-bodied fellas like me out of work, he is. Him and all the young devils and them bloody dagos. They're taking the bread out of our mouths.
Why not get yourself a job, then? What's stopping you?
This life has scrambled my brains. But one day, I'll show them. I will. Oh. Hold your horses. Will you look at that?
Paddy looks at women with a mixture of longing and hatred. Young, pretty women are too much above him. But at the sight of scarlet-lipped old prostitutes...
Tarts.
Paddy is like a boy at a sweet shop window.
In your dreams, old man.
I haven't been with a lady for many a year. But you never lose your hunger, do you?
That's true.
Have you got a lady friend?
There is someone, yes. In London.
Ah, you're a lucky fella. Is she pretty?
Yes. Her name's Brenda.
So what are you doing wasting your days with a layabout like me?
To be honest, it's more of a friendship than a courtship, but... well...
I suppose you wouldn't mind lending us a spot of money down, huh? Just to tide us over, like.
Oh, Actually, it's not that simple, Paddy. Last time we met, we parted on bad terms. So...
For the love of God, look at us. With barely a handful of coins to rub together. There's not even enough here for a bed and a cup of tea. And seeing how it's getting cold and all.
Right, you've got a point.
That's the spirit. It's time that we visited the Big Smoke. What do you say, huh?
Hello, can I help you?
Brenda. It's me.
Eric? I didn't recognise you in your fancy dress.
These are my street clothes, thank you.
Oh, what are you doing here?
I wanted to apologise. I was very rude to you last time and I wanted to say sorry.
I see.
Are you going to let me in? Or are you too ashamed to be seen with the down and out?
I could make an exception on this occasion, I suppose.
This will help me thaw out.
What on earth have you been up to? You've lost so much weight.
Well, a month of bread and margarine does strange things to a man. Would you mind awfully if I took my shoes off?
If you must.
Hold on. Ah. Oh. Sorry. The smell.
And the blisters.
I've been walking 15 miles a day and these shoes have never fitted very well.
Eric, you have to stop this ridiculous experiment before it kills you.
Don't be so dramatic. I can take care of myself. You know, I'm seeing this country in a completely new light. Until today, I'd never noticed one of the worst things about London. The fact that it costs money even to sit down.
You can sit in parks, though, can't you? London's full of parks.
Yes, but what if all the benches are being used? In Paris, if you have no money and can't find a public bench, you can sit on the pavement. Heaven knows what sitting on the pavement would lead to here.
Prison, probably.
Well, that's why you see so many people standing around in London. I stood on street corners for 5 hours today with my friend Paddy. It was thoroughly unpleasant.
What was? The loafing around, or your new friend?
Tramps are not monsters, Brenda. Most of them are reasonable chaps who'd share their last crust with you if they could.
If they're so wonderfully generous and reasonable, why do they keep doing it?
A tramp tramps not because he likes it, but for the same reason a car keeps to the left, because the law compels him to do so.
Well, you're saying it's not their fault?
Well, exactly. Tramps are only allowed to stay in a shelter for one night. They have to keep moving. It's either that or starve.
You want to go back to this?
I don't know how much more I can take. Have you heard from the family in Walberswick?
Nothing. I'm sorry.
Then I need to ask a favour.
Well, what is it?
I don't want to sound like a beggar, but I wanted to take you up on that offer of money.
How much do you want?
£1.
Here's 2.
Thank you. This will keep me out of trouble for a week or more.
I hope so.
All right. Well, I'd better be going. Ow. Wish me luck, hmm?
Good luck. And look after yourself.
I will. I promise.
our money troubles forgotten, Paddy and I go to a lodging house off the Strand. It is a dark, evil-smelling place, a notorious haunt of Nancy boys and all sorts of peculiar people.
Will you look at that?
As we arrive, a fully dressed man and a stark naked man, both newspaper sellers apparently, are bargaining in front of the fire. The dressed man is trying to sell his clothes to the naked man.
Yeah, right. This is the best rig you'll ever have. Yeah. Right? £0.50 for the coat. Right. 2 shillings for the trousers, and £1 for the boots, and a shilling for the cap and Scott. Well, all right, 7 bob.
You got open, Chuck. Look, I'll give you 4 for the lot.
5?
Right, you are. All right, off with them. I need to go out and sell the late edition.
All right. Yeah, here we go.
In 3 minutes, their positions are reversed. The naked man is dressed and the other is kilted with a sheet of the Daily Mail. Another of our fellow lodgers is Morris, who claims to have attended the same school as me.
I'm an old Etonian too, you know. Don't meet many of the old school here. Jolly boating weather and a hay harvest.
Hey, for pity's sake.
Shut up! Shut up, friggin' noise!
Now you're low types, all of you. Very low types. Do you know what my friends say? They say, Morris, you're past redemption. It's true. I am past redemption. But what of it, eh? Tell me, young man, would you like some cherry brandy?
Get back into bed, you silly old fool.
Ah, bloody people. Morris, you are past redemption.
Morris is a sad case, that's for sure.
What's he doing in a place like this?
Well, there's some who likes the ladies and some who likes the men, if you know what I mean.
You have to keep your wits about you in these places, don't you?
Aye. These lodging houses is full of thieves. I've seen them steal a wooden leg off a cripple before now. Oh, yeah. Once I saw a man, 14 stone he was, come into a lodging house with £4.10 in his pocket. In the morning, he woke up on the floor. 4 fellas had took his mattress by the corners and lifted him off light as a feather. He never saw his £4.10 again.
Thanks for putting my mind at rest, Paddy.
Don't let it bother you now. Just get your head down. Oh, there's a friend of mine I want you to meet tomorrow. Someone very special.
Paddy's friend is a pavement artist or screever called Bozo. Addresses do not exist in Paddy's world. In the end, we find Bozo near Waterloo Bridge. He's kneeling on the pavement with a box of chalks, copying a sketch of Winston Churchill from a penny notebook.
Bozo! Hey, Bozo!
Mr. Jakes! How the devil are you?
All the better for seeing you, Bozo. Oh, this is my chum, Mr. Burton.
Pleased to meet you.
Likewise. Could you look after him for a while, Bozo? I need to nose around for some baccy, huh?
Never change, do you, Paddy?
Bye, Paddy.
Can you excuse me a moment, Mr. Burton? I've got to finish this picture. Thank you.
Bozo is a small, dark-haired man with a hook nose. His right foot is twisted heel forward in a way horrible to see. But he doesn't let that interfere with his work.
Cartoons is my line. You know, politics, cricket and that.
Who do you draw?
All the well-known ones. When the budget was on, for instance, I had one of Winston trying to push an elephant marked debt. And underneath I wrote, Willy Budget. See?
That's good.
The thing about cartoons is you've got to stay ahead of the competition and you've got to be up to date. Once, a child got his head stuck in the railings off Chelsea Bridge. My cartoon was on the pavement before they'd got the child's head out of the railings. Prompt I am.
How much do you earn?
All depends. This time of year, when it don't rain, I take about £3 between Friday and Saturday. Boat race day and cup final day, I've took as much as £4.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah. So long as you keep your money covered up. People won't give you anything if they see you've got a bob or two already. Particularly the toffs. Oh, yes, thank you, sir.
Bozo made 16 shillings that day, of which 12 or 13 were profit once he'd taken his chalks into account. It was enough to live on, bed and board, for a week or more. That evening, I joined Bozo on a walk to a lodging house south of the river. As we crossed Lambeth Bridge, we stopped to rest. Bozo was quiet for a minute or two. He was looking at the stars.
Say, will you look at Aldeburn?
Aldeburn? Which one's that?
Over there, above the steeple, see? Look at the colour. It's like a great blood orange.
Never realised the stars were different colours.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? Like something by Monet, or one of the Impressionists.
So you're an art critic too?
Well, Aldeburn's a work of art. People call it the bullseye, because it's in Taurus's head. See? See?
Oh, yes, I can see it now.
Meteors are my speciality, of course. I've got 2 letters from the Astronomer Royal, thanking me for writing about them. The stars are a free show, you know. They don't cost anything to use your eyes.
That's true. I've never thought of that.
Well, you've got to take an interest in something, haven't you? Just because you're on the road, it doesn't mean you can't think of anything but tea and 2 slices.
Well, isn't it hard to take an interest in other things when you live like this?
No, not if you set your mind to it. If you've got any education, it don't matter if you're on the road for the rest of your life.
Right. You see, I've found just the opposite. When you take a man's money away, he's fit for nothing.
Oh, it doesn't need to be like that. I believe you can live the same life, rich or poor. You just got to say to yourself, in my head, I'm a free man. And you'll be all right.
Bozo owned nothing but the clothes he stood up in. His knees had pads of skin on them as thick as boot soles from kneeling on the pavement. His damaged leg would probably have to be amputated. There was clearly no future for him but beggary and a death in the workhouse. And yet, he had neither fear nor regret, neither shame nor self-pity.
Do you know, I've never picked up a cigarette in.
Really?
Absolutely. That's for Paddy and his mates.
Oh, Paddy's all right. He's a good sort.
He's a tea-swilling old moocher, only fit to scrounge fag ends. That's the way most tramps end up. I despise them. Never give up hope, my friend. Never give up hope. Oh, look at the time. We better get to this lodging house.
Don't you want to look at the stars for longer?
No, that's enough for me. Oh. However bad it is here, I bet it's 100 times worse on Mars or Jupiter. Or wherever. Because there's no heat or water on them.
Yeah, life's a lot harsher up there, or so I've heard.
You see, if you steal 6pence on Earth, you go to prison. If you do it on Mars, you probably get boiled alive. so that's something to be grateful for, isn't it?
Indeed it is. Nothing would make Bozo succumb to poverty. He might be ragged and cold or even starving. But as long as he could read, think and watch the stars, he was free in his own mind. He's an exceptional man. While I'm with Bozo, he teaches me about the techniques of London begging. There's more to it than one might suppose.
Street acrobats make the most money. If you get a good pitch, like a theatre queue, you can earn £5 a week, which is more than most shop assistants earn, I reckon. And that's nothing. Well, now, look, watch this geezer.
What, the street photographer?
Yeah, see how he's running after that old gent? Now, look closely.
Just hold it right there, sir. Lovely. Right, there you go, sir.
Why? Do you mind? I never asked you to take a photo. Get away with you.
What? You didn't want it took?
No.
I'm sorry. I thought you signalled with your hand.
Well, I certainly did not.
Well, that's a plate wasted. Oh, that's cost me sixpence, that has.
Oh, very well then. Here's sixpence.
Oh, thank you, Governor. It's very good of you.
I don't understand. What's the scam?
Keep watching. The photographer's going to pull out the plate and say it's spoiled, which means you'll have to take a fresh photo free of charge.
So he makes 2 prints for the price of one?
Oh, no. He didn't take the first one, you see. If the victim says yes, he makes a sale. If they say no, he wastes nothing.
How ingenious. People fall for that.
All the time. You can see why them mug fakers are a cut above normal beggars, can't you?
I don't think I've got the nerve for that, Bozo. What else could I do?
If you're short of dough, you could try glimming. That's watching people's cars. Or how about becoming a nobler? That's the fellow who takes the hat round. You can make a few bob doing that.
I think I'll stick to writing, thanks.
Suit yourself. Oh, hold up. A clod's making his way over.
Who?
A policeman to you. Time to make myself scarce, I reckon. Well, nice meeting you, Chief.
You too, Bozo.
Whenever you look up at the stars, think of me, eh? Here you go. Treat yourself.
Thanks, Bozo.
Hey! You! Come here! Yes, somebody stop it!
Bozo was an inspiration to me. He'd shown me that it was possible for a tramp to live honourably and to escape the mind-rotting boredom which seemed to afflict most of his colleagues. In the meantime, despite Bozo's nice little tip, I am running short of money. The £2 which Brenda gave me has lasted 10 days. For that, I should thank my other teacher, Paddy, who considered even one sound meal a day a wild extravagance.
Oh, this bread is delicious.
Paddy taught me how to live, food, bed, tobacco and all, on £0.50 a day. But there came a point when even he had to admit defeat. We fall into a squalid, lodging house life of crushing boredom.
What's the time?
Same as it was 2 minutes ago. Care for a cigarette?
No, I already got one here, thanks.
For days, there's nothing to do in the various lodging houses but read yesterday's newspaper. The only excitement is our periodic tea and 2 slices. We also spend many hours, as I did in Paris, counting bugs and beetles as they crawl across the ceiling. Unemployment is torture to someone like Paddy. He is as miserable out of work as a dog on a chain. That's why it's such nonsense to pretend that those who have come down in the world are to be pitied. The man who really merits pity is the one who has been down from the start and who faces poverty with a blank, resourceless mind.
Right, stop this now. My belly is rumbling something terrible.
Mine too. What shall we do?
Well, I know just the place where we can get some grub and a cup of tea.
We go to a church near King's Cross where a free tea is given out once a month. Men had come from far and wide at the news of a free tea, like kites around a dead buffalo. We are shepherded into a gallery at the top of the church, an evangelical establishment, gaunt and wilfully ugly. The regular congregation, mostly stringy old women, sit below us. As the service begins, the tramps start to misbehave in the most outrageous way. They laugh, chatter, flick pellets of bread into the congregation and shout at the minister. I thought it was a queer, rather disgusting scene, and said as much to Paddy.
No, it's not. It's funny as hell.
But these people are trying to worship.
But that's true enough.
So why are these men, whom they fed, deliberately making worship impossible?
It's our revenge for them having humiliated us.
It's not fair, Paddy.
Well, that's tough. Whose side are you on anyway? Oh, look. The minister is staring at us.
I shall address today's sermon to the unsaved sinners. Come on, now. There's no need for language like... Really, please.
The scene interests and distresses me. Tramps normally show an abject, worm-like gratitude. But on this occasion, we so outnumber the congregation that we're not afraid of them. A man receiving charity always hates his benefactor, and when he has many others to back him, he will show his hatred. This grotesque spectacle is a sign that my time among the London poor is drawing to a close.
Cheer up. We're only having a bit of fun.
I think it's time I moved on, Paddy.
Oh. Where to?
I don't know. I'll see if Brenda will put me up for a few days.
Oh, well, then you'll need some extra rations then. Here.
Oh, Paddy, you shouldn't.
Now go on. You stood me a smoke yesterday. One good turn deserves another. And if you don't smoke those, you can always keep them as a souvenir.
Thank you.
Four cigarette ends. I hope you don't expect me to smoke these.
Paddy gave them to me. As a leaving present.
So your tramping days are finally over?
For the moment, yes. Oh, here's my manuscript.
Confessions of a Dishwasher. By George Orwell.
The title needs some work, but I think the pseudonym has a good English ring to it, don't you think?
It's an improvement on your earlier suggestions. Are you all right?
Sorry. I should have listened to you, Brenda. All those boarding houses and park benches have done my chest no good at all.
You deserve a medal for bravery.
A medal? Why does everyone think that tramps are violent and dangerous? Nothing could be further from the truth.
But they're hardly angels, though, are they?
No, I know, but try and set aside your prejudices for 1 minute. I've spent weeks, months with these men, and you know, there's really no difference between tramps and ordinary working people.
Apart from the fact that tramps don't work.
But what is work? A navvy swings a pick, an accountant adds up figures, and a beggar labours outdoors in all weathers, getting bronchitis and varicose veins.
Does that make a tramp's labour equal to that of a surgeon? Or a school teacher?
Tramps are parasites, I accept that. But they're fairly harmless parasites. Lots of other trades are equally useless and disreputable. Are tramps less honourable than quack doctors or Sunday newspaper proprietors? I don't think so.
Now you're just being silly.
If that's what it takes to get people's attention, then so be it.
It's very easy to criticise, Eric. How would you do things differently?
Well, that's a complicated question.
Come on.
I suppose I...
Is your imagination as great as your indignation?
Well, I'd start by ensuring tramps have enough to eat. Each workhouse should have a kitchen garden, so the tramps can work there and then eat the produce.
Well, how can they do that if they have to move on every day?
Vagrants should stay in one place for a month or even a year if there's work for them to do. Proper work might help turn them into self-respecting human beings. Eventually, some of them might marry and take up respectable places in society.
Like you mean?
One day, yes. But not yet. It's very good to see you again, Brenda.
You too, Eric.
You know, when you're tramping, women are as far out of your reach as the moon.
Really?
You don't realise how much you miss something until you have to do without it.
What do you mean?
Well, you know.
No. I don't know. You're the writer. Tell me.
I've missed you. Very much.
Well, I'm glad we found something we can agree upon. I've missed you too.
I think we'll leave them there, don't you? Thanks for listening. I've only touched the fringes of poverty, and yet I do know this. I will never again think of tramps as drunken scoundrels, nor expect a beggar to be grateful when I give him a penny. Nor will I be surprised if an unemployed man lacks energy. Tramping is dismal and demoralising. I cannot imagine a more humiliating way of life, or one more damaging to a man's self-respect. I know my suggested improvements are rather modest, but you can play your part as well. Next time you pass a beggar in the street, treat him with the respect due to a fellow human being. And whenever you enjoy a meal at a smart restaurant or a luxury hotel, remember those faceless toilers who are making your moment of pleasure possible. Thank you. Goodbye.
In Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell, adapted for radio by P.G. Morgan, George Orwell was played by Samuel Barnett. Boris was played by Stephen Greif. Paddy by Jim Norton. Bozo by Trevor Peacock. And Brenda by Naomi Frederick. The pawnshop owner was played by Sam Dale. The sailor by Anthony Glennon. The Russian cook, Rachel Bavage. And the Romanian woman, Jasmine Callan. Other parts were played by John Dougal, Jason Thorpe and Stephen Greif. The producer was Stephen Canny.